But actually, that's what we do, and that's when we do our best stuff. Is when we get into this spell, we're into this thing, and you can just see it going around the room. And if you look at that drum part, is really extraordinary. This kind of military rolling, this rising and falling, and Adam's playing this. It's almost jazz-like interpretive thing. This is like a band from the north side of Dublin who just only know 5 chords. I feel the lyric. I'm disappointed in the lyric. In that I never really finished it. The one that's on the album is kind of it's an improvisation. I just kind of made it up on the spot. And I sometimes think and got very angry and resentful about the fact that we didn't have time to finish that, because it could have been a great song. And I think, though, every night now that we play it, I get a chance to try and write the lyric again, and I'm really enjoying it. I love the lyric.
See, this is where I disagree with him. I love the lyric of that. I think it's one of his great lyrics.
But anyway, I don't know.
Great. So, like, who's got...
There was somebody else said Bullet the Blue Sky, and that's kind of an interesting story which I think explains the slightly haphazard approach to our songwriting. Because that one started out, we were in our demo studio in Dublin. Actually, it was a little studio that we used to go into called SCS. Paul Barrett was this slightly mad scientist who ran the place. And
that makes 2 of you.
It was actually a very important place for us, because we would go in there with a lot of rough ideas before committing to make a record. And based on how we did in STS, it would give us an idea if we were ready or not. And Paul was really important to us in those early years for helping us to make these demos. So we're in there one day, and I'm trying to work out a guitar riff that I have in my head. And Adam and Larry start playing along, but they play in completely the wrong beat.
And key.
So the one, and yeah, Adam's playing in a different key. So I'm going, this is not right. And so I'm kind of in a slightly grumpy mood. I'm going, they don't get it. They really don't get it. And so the jam finishes, and Bono bursts out of the control room and says, "That's amazing." And I was about to say, but they're playing it wrong. And I said, okay, so let's hear it. So I went into the control room and listened back, and it was so much better than what I was trying to do. It was just this unbelievable sound, and it was to do with Adam's bass. He'd come up with this feel and this mode, which was nothing to do with what I was trying to do on guitar. And Larry's drumming, it was an incredible demo. And when we played it to Brian Eno, after the sessions had ended and before we actually started recording the Joshua Tree, he just said, I don't want to know what that is. I never, ever want to hear any of the constituent parts of what that is. It's just so amazing. I just want to retain this impression of what that song is about. So let's just go in and record it when we're ready, but I don't want to have any understanding of what made that thing happen. And it was, you know, there it is, you know, Adam, Larry, myself, Bono, when we're all doing our own thing, sometimes you just get this bizarre combination of different takes on an idea, which I certainly would never have come up with that.
And Adam is the jazz man in the band. He's the wild card, always play the unexpected. And yet, you know, if I go to gigs, I often don't notice the bass player. And it's a dreadful thing to say, but they just sound like the bass. But my favorite bands, I always know the bass. Yeah. And the Clash or the Stranglers or
Jar Wobble,
Jar Wobble, and this sound that he makes, it is kind of extraordinary, but it is in a different key to what Edge was playing to him. So I think you got to run with that. But it sounded very disturbing, and I had some very disturbing experiences to draw from. And I had been in Central America, I'd been traveling around, and I'd taken my young wife into places perhaps I shouldn't have. We were in El Salvador, and we were out. There was a small farmers cooperative that I think we were supporting at the time, and we were going out to see them while they were being firebombed. And it was a dreadful feeling to be walking through this jungle and feeling the ground shake. It was a terrible moment, and I remember this walking past some graffiti, and it said, "Fuck Jesus." And I went, whoa, I thought this is very heavy. I said, they're very angry here about God, are they? Mm. And they said, no, that's Jesus. He lives around the corner. and so, you know, this was this kind of, and then I we're crossing.
This is HBO, isn't it? I just want to check.
Okay, that's very, could be in trouble now, but then, you know, to see these people afraid and then to feel fear myself, I remember this hearing, I think it's the first time to hear real gunfire, and there was a round opened as we were crossing a street over our heads. Just, I've been shot at a few times as it happens, but this was the first time. And I'm there with my young wife, and we're and this very heroic character called David Batstone, who's taking us closer, and he just says, "Be quiet, be cool. I think they're just trying to frighten us." I said, "When will we know?" And he goes, "When you're not dead." And so there was a fear, some anger I had about U.S. foreign policy at that time, and came back, and I was explaining this to Edge and saying, "Could you put these stories through your amplifier?"
God.
And
simple job, really.
And I think he did.
God, listen to me. Space red like a rose and thorn bush, like all the colors of a royal flush.
And I think all the feelings that I felt and trying to, you know, I wrote about it in a sort of biblical, like a biblical epic kind of thing. In the howling wind comes a stinging rain.
I mean, the thing there is,
yeah.
I had a great vocal. I mean, even if it was the guide vocal, I had a great vocal to work off, because that's, you know, when Bono's vocal went on top of that mad combination of Adam's bass and drums and Larry's drums, my guitar, that really set it off. And so it was kind of easier for me to get there as a guitar player with working off the vocal.
And I have a great respect for people's religion, and indeed I'm a believer myself, but, you know, when it gets really baroque, it's fascinating, and you know, the preaching, I've always, you know, it kind of frightens me. And I remember turning on the TV and going, wow, when we first got to America, these people are crazy. But it was influencing the songwriting, so I was going, this guy comes up to me, his face red like a rose on a rose bush, like all the colors of a royal flush. And I never said this before, but, you know, it was Ronald Reagan. And, you know, he had that kind of flushed thing. And I was so angry at the U.S., and I didn't want to make it a cheap political shot, but I had to get it out somehow. And I understand that communism now was ruining some beautiful countries, and there were dreadful things done in the name of communism, and it was perhaps more complex than I thought then. But I still didn't think these people should deserve their villages firebombed and the pounding they were taking. And anyway, this is the stuff of this is songwriting by accident and design.
See, Edge, I'm sure you didn't realise when you first met Bono and you had a band together, you went, wow, he's going to be a good front man. You didn't realise he was going to then be, you know...
President of the United States.
Exactly, yeah. Took the words out of my mouth.
Pope.
Yes. Now, how does...
Mother Teresa.